Charleston, South Carolina is the personification of Southern charm. Its pastel grand dams of the past grace the shoreline with remnants of the glory days of the South. In today's Charleston, goods still pour in from around the world, allowing the region's great chefs access to the best. Nowhere is this more evident than at the Charleston Grill, located in the heart of the Old City. In today's program, Chef Bob Wagner prepares grits with a twist. In this case, roasted garlic and sun-dried tomatoes stuffed in zucchini with roasted eggplant. He also shows how grits can be transformed into a dessert. Then Regina visits a plantation to learn the secrets of a true okra gumbo, and later checks in on the famed Sweetgrass basket ladies of Charleston.
We're here in one of the most charming and beautiful cities in the entire northern Americas, Charleston, South Carolina, which is replete with history of all types of beautiful colonials right down to the waterfront. And that history really extends to the cuisine as well. And what you're doing is quite interesting because you're doing a true blend of the South, including your own yellow grits from South Carolina.
Exactly.
In a dish that would otherwise be considered kind of French. A lot of influences.
Exactly, pretty much.
And that's like you. You were in France for how long?
11 years. 11 years. Ended up went thinking I'd spend a year and came back 11 years later and
with a French bride and a baby
bride,
and everything
a little
else.
daughter ended up. And if the economy wasn't so bad, I'd still be there.
Oh, it is. It's a lovely
country. I found my way down here, and it's just a lovely city and very European.
Very
along
European.
With that. It's beautiful, but as you can
Truly.
see, the French Huguenots that came down, so there's still my play on sort of Southern food, but there were French back here way back when, so.
That's true. So this just sort of a creative twist on everything that was.
Exactly.
So tell us where we're going to begin on the first dish. This is incredible with the grits and the roasted eggplant.
Oh yeah, this is fun. Well, actually, what we're going to do, we won't do all the little details of each dish. We'll explain how it actually works. So what we've done is we've roasted a couple eggplants, split them in half, salt, pepper, and some fresh thyme. And alongside of that, we've taken some shallots and garlic, and just sort of just lightly cook those guys. You don't want to brown them too much. I think this pan's still hot or not. That should be all right. We've roasted these guys in the oven for about 10-15 minutes. And what we're going to do is you just want to scrape the insides of them out.
And I've got to tell you, he's a sport. He just arrived home from France last night and almost overslept your wake-up call this morning.
Oh, there you go. But we made it.
We made it.
We're here. So just to give you an idea, then what you want to do is add this to your shallots and garlic. You want to cook that for, say, about another 15 minutes, really, to take on all those wonderful flavors together. Salt and pepper, obviously, with some fresh cracked white pepper, and we'll let that cook over the heat.
Now, let's talk about grits, too. You got some grits going over there, and I think a lot of us don't understand grits.
I tell you, grits are kind of fun. And coming into the city, the owner said, oh, we'd like you to sort of play with the southern feel and do something with the grits. And I'm thinking, gosh, grits are, you know. And then I was introduced to a local gentleman who's actually doing, I like him so much, we've actually done our own Charleston Grill grits. And it's a stone ground grit. It's the dried corn. And what they'll do is they'll take the hull of the corn and crush the the whole dried corn, and crush it under a wheel. The powder that goes to one side, or is sifted from one side, is cornmeal, and this is the larger grit.
The grit left.
This is what's left over. Actually, that's what you're trying to get. It's the cornmeal that's sort of the byproduct.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's being a fresh product. It hasn't been bleached or anything like that. So all the natural essential oils and everything are in there, where all the real wonderful flavor comes from.
Well, I'll tell you, before this is over, if you know of a place where I'll put this on the website so that if any of you are interested in the real thing, you can find out how to get a bag of these. I'm taking this bag home.
There you go. So hey, those have been cooking for about an hour and, 15 minutes now. We've got our puree that's ready, we've got our grits rolling. Another local gentleman from the Kennedy Farms, Dan Kennedy, who got me these wonderful little baby zucchini blossoms. I think these are actually the female. There's two blossoms that come out of a zucchini plant. These are the female, where actually you'll have the little zucchini as it's growing with the little flower on top.
And the male are just what?
It's a little stem with just the flower, so they can cross-pollinate between them. So, and you can use those. You can use those also if that's all you can find. But anyone who's got zucchini at home, they've got both types of flowers. What we're going to do is add a little bit of sun-dried tomatoes and roasted garlic and fresh thyme to our grits now. And by the way, you can use vegetable stock also if you'd rather not use the chicken stock. we got some sun-dried tomatoes, some fresh thyme from our garden up top. And we're gonna let that cook. You want to add this just right at the end. You don't want it to cook too long, maybe 5-10 minutes. We'll let that sort of heat up together.
Okay, now have your sun-dried tomatoes already been softened up?
Those were softened up a bit. We've actually got some truly wonderful product also. So sometimes you don't even need to. If you like that little bite to them where you don't need to all the time soften them up. This is the fun part when you get these guys.
Now this is the puree of the eggplant and the shallots.
That's our eggplant puree, shallots and garlic. One little secret about these guys is what you want to do is sort of blow into it.
Look at that.
So it opens up. Just twist it a tiny bit.
Were you taught that in France, or did you learn that yourself?
No, that's a French one. They've been doing that in France for years and years. So can't take credit for that one. You have to give that one to the French.
Oh yeah, got a
tiny bit of butter or olive oil is fine. You just don't want them to dry out too much in the oven. They'll keep their nice color. We'll bake them for 4 or 5 minutes. We'll do them real hot in the oven, so it's it's a pretty quick process.
They're pretty tender, so they don't have to be in there too long.
And everything's really cooked already. So we're gonna pop these guys in the oven real quick. What we're gonna do is take some of our.
And then I'll have to ask you in a little bit. I'm going to have to ask you about this French product up here.
Yeah, that's with the next recipe there. So we'll be able to. And this you can actually keep them real loose if you'd like. Also, I like to serve them like that. These are the ones that we baked up a little bit earlier.
Ooh.
As you can see, it's a
a lot of flavor in that dish.
Oh yeah.
Now it's unlikely they did this 200 years ago, right?
I doubt it. I doubt it. It's kind of fun.
Because I've seen, we picked up a copy of Thomas Jefferson's cookbook, for example.
Oh, and it wasn't in there, I bet.
Well, and he had his people trained in France with him. And even so, you don't see anything like this. This is truly an American interpretation. Beautiful.
That's kind of fun. And most of the things that I do you won't find in many of the other restaurants. It's a real play on Southern food and Southern products. And
that's why he has such a good reputation. Okay, very good. Well, now, one thing we did, we're going to clean this up and we'll start on the next dish in a little bit. But one thing we did is we went out around town, and there are some really lovely features about Charleston and native products here, and one of them are these beautiful little baskets, delicate little baskets made of sweetgrass. Now, the grasses are picked around here, and there are women that have been making these baskets for generations that continue to today and sell them at street markets, and we had the pleasure of taking a look at some of their baskets.
This is a hand-me-down my mother taught me. I've been making baskets for about 51 years. 51 years. It take me that long to be good. It's hard work, but I stay at it and I make a decent living.
My name is Matilda Smalls, and I was making baskets for 35 years.
Matilda is with most of the other basket ladies of Charleston, learned how to weave from her mother.
From generation to generation. When I was 5 years old, not really making it, but tying up something.
The basket ladies take pride in their craft.
Making real good. Taking my time to try to make a good basket to take. That's all I work on all day.
The tools of the trade are simple.
This is pine needle. This is sweetgrass. And this is palmetto. And I'm just using one of the old spoon handles.
As the ladies will tell you, this is one craft that cannot be hurried.
The one I'm working on now, it'll take me about a week or 2 weeks or more. And it's all depending on what kind of basket you're going to make. If you're going to make some of the little coasters, just to drink, you can make those by 2 of those in a day or 3.
People come from all over the world for the sweetgrass basket.
Now this is a really fresh and not only that, beautiful soup, golden colored soup that we have coming up. Tell us a little bit about it.
This is kind of fun. This is my heirloom tomato. Actually, the old timer, you can see they're not perfect, and these are actually, we picked out some of the nicer ones to show, but the heirloom tomatoes are all just this incredible flavor. So what it is a sort of a play on the gazpacho, but sort of, once again, my version of southern food, playing around with it. And it's as simple as can be. I love it for the summertime. Especially, I enjoy entertaining at home a lot too, so you can do it the day. Actually, it's better the day before. And as simple as it gets, what we're going to do is, we're not going to follow the recipe, as we don't usually here in the kitchen anyway. Actually, I'm gonna throw them in there.
Okay.
That's simple. If you take a look at the recipe, everything's basically just thrown into your blender.
Onions, shallots, heirloom tomatoes, garlic. It's whole.
Fresh whole garlic. It's gonna get beat up
This
in there
looks
anyway.
like a 5-minute soup.
That's really, of course, we'll spend a little bit more time than that on it.
Yeah.
Fresh salt, fresh ground white peppers.
White pepper instead of black.
White
is
pepper.
Pretty...
You won't see it so much either.
Right.
You won't see the little black specks.
Right.
So you forget these guys.
And then you're taking all the seeds out. So.
Yes, taking the seeds out.
Let's talk about this before you pour that in. This is something that you don't generally see in most cuisine. Go ahead and tell me what this is.
Actually, what this is verjus from Périgord, from France. And what they do is they'll go in September, they'll pick the grapes, and there'll be these little tiny guys that aren't ready to be picked at all. They're just little tiny sour grapes pretty much. They'll leave those on the vines, and then in October, November, there's no sun. So they never get a chance to really grow up and be a grape. So what they'll do is they'll go back and pick those grapes, squeeze them, and that's what this is. And it's got a fun little, see if you can take a little spoonful just to try. Need that much.
It's not going to have a vinegary bite to it.
It actually does. It's got a tiny bit of vinegar, but it's got a wonderful.
It's a light, clean, very like a grape juice that hasn't really gone to sugar yet.
Exactly.
It's very nice.
Which is really what
very
it is.
Light.
It never got a chance to get much sugar.
So is it normally used with produce then? I take it.
Vinaigrettes and I guess it's fabulous even in sauces for fish and things like that. So
it doesn't have the bite of a vinegar though, not at all.
No, just a tiny bit. So you can use it, even just that with some olive oil and make a nice vinaigrette. We're going to try and heat this guy up without making too much of a mess here.
These are the best.
Oh, these are great. After all that noise, actually all we did was blend in and emulsify a tiny bit of virgin olive oil that binds it all together and really kicks it up to another real fun flavor. Just rounds it off real well and brings it up, and also gives it a little bit different color. In the restaurant, we've got all these little baby currant tomatoes that are kind of fun also. We put some fresh goat cheese in the bottom, some cilantro leaves out of our garden, some coriander seeds that are ground up. It's actually the cilantro. Then the waiters will come by and we'll just pour this on.
Oh, that's a nice presentation. Have it come together before your eyes. It's a lovely color. It's like the color of papaya.
And it's as fresh as can be. And what's fun is you can do it the day before. That's what I love about it. You don't have to spend your entire night in the kitchen. As you have all your guests over there, you can do it, have it all ready, and pour it. And
now we're going to juxtapose this to a truly Southern soup. Over at the Middleton Plantation, the Middleton Place.
Yeah.
We had a chance to go over there, and we're going to find out how they made a truly classic, same recipe as it existed 100, 200 years ago, of an okra gumbo. I'm here with Audrey Aiken at Middleton Place, a wonderfully well-preserved plantation outside of Charleston, South Carolina. And what we're going to make here is a really classic Southern dish. And you were a student of Edna Lewis. Yes. And Edna Lewis is famous around this region and around the country for truly preserving native Southern cooking. And tell us a little bit about the dish you're making today.
Today we're making okra gumbo.
Now these are all ingredients, and this is a dish that would have been made a couple hundred years ago.
Yes.
Around this part of the world. And so it's a pretty simple dish as it actually comes together.
Yeah,
and I'm going to turn you loose for a minute while you start assembling it, and then I'll have a question or two along the way, especially about the okra. That's perplexing to deal with sometimes.
All right. Okay. First we add our tomato. We have tomato paste. Then we have our freshly diced carrots, celery, onions. We have our fresh lima bean and your water. We have a teaspoon of salt, fresh cumin, ground black pepper.
And can you tell us a little bit about filet? What's that add to the recipe? Because a lot of us don't really cook much with filet.
It has a nice pungent taste. It's made from the sassafras roots. And after it boils about 30 minutes, then we add our corn.
And then I want to talk about this. I mean, it is an okra gumbo.
Okra gumbo.
So now, okra is known to have properties that would be considered, well, they're slimy. And and how do you eliminate that factor when you're using okra in soups?
In soups. Add it last so it won't cook too long. The longer you cook it, the more slimy it gets.
Oh, that's the key, okay.
Yes.
I mean, I know from fried okra, that's a whole different deal.
There, yes.
But boy, you put it in water and it just keeps producing.
The more,
So this is a really healthful dish. You
Yes.
don't have any oils or fat,
No
you haven't
oils or
sauteed
fat.
anything.
no sauteing, you just put it in the pot and you just
Let it cook down.
let it cook down.
And then you're serving it with cornbread.
Cornbread, and for a hearty dish, a little side of white rice.
White rice.
Because here at Middleton Place, it is a rice plantation, and we love to have our rice.
So in Charleston, in Southern cuisine around town, you'd find a lot of rice dishes.
lot of rice dishes,
And a lot of
yes.
seafood, I would
Yes.
guess, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
After 45 minutes, we have a nice hearty pot of stew.
Looks good. All right. And you have rice here.
Rice
So you put it on top instead of underneath.
underneath.
Yeah. Makes a really, this is really a well-balanced meal. This is a meal in a bowl, which is probably how it was eaten a lot, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's all you needed. Okay, now, and I see we have cornbread, but I don't see any honey and butter. That's really good. Has a lot of flavor. It's not slimy.
It's not.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this recipe with us. This really feels like you're doing something good for your body.
Yes, it is. All vegetarian.
And now a truly special Southern treat. What is this we're having for dessert?
Okay, this one's almost a little overboard. What it is chocolate and hazelnut grits wrapped in a crepe with a pistachio ice cream that goes on top and a little bit of chocolate alongside of
We
that.
told you this one was special.
Yeah, this one's kind of fun.
What's really interesting, while you were away, myself and everybody else on the crew here behind the camera, we found a bunch of spoons. We've already eaten this stuff.
We've tasted the praline paste.
Well, you'll
obviously.
notice that the volume is down a bit. Oh my. Now, I was asking if there's any way we could show how to make this particular hazelnut praline sauce, and you said no because you get it from France.
What it really is peanut butter, but made with hazelnuts. So it's a hazelnut butter.
Well,
is
I'm
actually what
noticing,
it is.
I mean, when you taste it, it almost tastes like it has a little butter or a little bit of, well, it does have butter, it's a nut butter, but it has cream or something in it, but according to this, it just has
Oh, there's no
nuts
butter
and
at all.
sugar and vanilla.
That's all it is. But anyway, so what we've done is we've cooked our grits, same thing, cooked them for an hour and let them cook, nice and slow.
Now, one other ingredient, because again, ingredients are always key to a good recipe. You got to have good ingredients. This is really good.
This is really phenomenal. This is American chocolate, Hawaiian vintage chocolate, and Jim Walsh, a buddy of mine, actually, what he's done is over the last 10 years has planted. I think this year he'll have 1 million trees, and I think each cocoa tree. I think they get 8 pounds of chocolate out of each tree, if you can imagine the type of volume that he's doing. And what he's done is he's come up with a vintage chocolate.
This Kona Estate from Kona.
Exactly, and they have different plantations in different parts of different islands, actually. And each year they'll have, depending on the year and the weather and how how the weather takes care of the plants and the soil, they'll have a vintage chocolate for that year.
So now this we can put away because we've already
We've got it melted down. And this you can just do. This is naturally the praline paste. That's its state, so you don't have to
Right.
heat that up. This is just chocolate. Don't do the bain-marie thing and worry about that and heat it up. Just pop it in the microwave for a couple seconds. Just keep an eye on it and move it around, and
then,
you don't
yeah,
have to.
short bursts in a
exactly,
microwave.
Short bursts. Don't worry. Don't make a
Okay.
big deal out about it. It's not that.
Okay.
It's not that big of a deal.
Okay, now what do we do now that we've explained our ingredients?
Now what we've got is we've got our grits that have been cooked here. They're a little bit. I cooked them a little bit drier, just so they'll take on the praline paste and the chocolate. We're gonna add this guy, and for that much, obviously we don't have the recipe on this one right now. But
Right.
what's that about?
Looks like it's about a cup. Yeah.
Cup and a quarter or something like that. And there's no sugar in here, so obviously this is what's giving it all its flavor. We're gonna do 2 tablespoons.
2 generous
tablespoons of praline paste and about the same of chocolate.
About a quarter of a cup. Those are really generous tablespoons.
Well, chef's tablespoon, I
Yeah,
guess. There's
chef
not
tablespoon.
I mean, it's not a beautiful thing, but we won't see it because we're going to hide it in a crepe anyway. And you want to have all of them about the same temperature. If we go back and heat this up, the chocolate, the praline paste, since there's such a high quantity of oil in there, it'll start breaking down and it won't look all that nice. It won't hold together.
So you want them at kind of at room temperature?
All of them about the same temperature. And then what we can do is pop them inside here. And it doesn't matter because we're going to heat it back up anyway. Sometimes, if you like, also what you can do that's kind of fun is throw some little chips of chocolate, just chop them up and kind of mix them in like
texture.
that. And you'll get some texture in there.
Yeah.
And then these little guys, and this you can do ahead of time before your guests actually show up. If you can have all these guys ready, because they'll sit like this without a problem.
Does the crepe dry out at all? Do you need to keep
it does a little bit. I just
covered?
stick a plastic wrap over the top if you're going to do it. We'll make a couple so you guys can
taste by chance?
Instead of just eating the chocolate and the hazelnut paste, we can actually see what it...
We are bad.
No, hey, I'm the same way. Especially in France. My gosh, I went to all my friends' restaurants and good God.
And we're ready for our final touches
So actually, what we've done now, we have our little crepes. We've popped them in the microwave for maybe about 20, 30 seconds, depending. You just want to touch them on top, and you'll see. You want to make sure they're hot because they'll cool down. You definitely don't want them cold.
And this has to be prepared in advance.
Pistachio ice cream. If you can't find pistachio ice cream, you could roast your own pistachios, chop them up, take some vanilla ice, the best vanilla ice cream you can buy.
Right, mix it in.
And mix them in. Just coat them. Actually, just coat it around the top.
Ooh, that's lovely.
And these guys are hot. That should hold on for a couple minutes before it melts down. So if you've got 6 or 8 people that you're doing, take a little bit of your leftover chocolate and just kind of wonder that.
Oh my, well, we're going to go to David Berkeley right now and find out what he would serve with the first couple of dishes today, which gives us just enough time to start eating this.
There you go.
Charleston, such a charming city, grand old homes, beautiful gardens, and Regina, as you know, a city with some wonderful restaurants. Now, Charleston exudes, shall we say, Southern style and gracious hospitality. But the warmth of the South may be best expressed in the ease and comfort of that low country foods. Now, grits is certainly a foundation of that low country menu. And this dish, zucchini blossom stuffed with roasted eggplant, served over stone ground grits with roasted garlics and sun-dried tomatoes, well, it sort of lets you serve whatever you want, white wine or red wine. That's if you're not already enjoying a glass of the sweetened iced tea that's so popular in the South. Now, regardless of what you select, white or red wine, I'm going to suggest that you pursue wine which features and accents the fruit of the grape. Not the process, not the fermentation, and not the cooperage, but the fruit. That light easiness goes very well with these foods. Now, there's a group of wines that are part of the history of the Eastern Seaboard. They're called French hybrid. They include things like Sauvignon Blanc is white wine and Baco Noir. And I think they would go very well with these sort of dishes. Enjoy, relax in the style of the South.
Bob, it has been a total pleasure joining you here today, and I love what you've done, taking all of your French culinary experience and applying it to the South. And even though you might be shaking things up here and scaring a few other chefs,
people having a good time. That's what's important.
Until next time, Santé.
To find out more about Regina's Vegetarian Table, visit our PBS website at pbs.org.